topic here, man. We got a question in our Patreon group, questions for the show. Patreon group's the best way to support what we do here at Packers Total Access, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Ron Sample says, if Wicks is still struggling with drops when Watson comes back, how likely is it that he is the receiver cut from the 53? Obviously, Jacob, when you're talking about the receiving room here, man, it's kind of crowded all of a sudden, right? And I know some people believe that our receiving room isn't that good. When you look at it here, starting from the top down, you got, and this is just how it's listed. Obviously, Christian Watson's going to be starting the season on PUP, on IR, so he's in the red here. We got Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Romeo Doubs, Dontayvion Wicks, Savion Williams, and, of course, Christian Watson's going to be on the PUP. Malik Heath, I imagine, would be the 6, or Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman obviously making a pretty strong push there with his versatility and being able to be a special teams receiver. So you've already got 6 to 7 receivers there before Watson comes back. I like that Ron asked this question because as soon as Christian Watson comes back, what do you do, right? Now, going back to his question, if Wicks is still struggling with drops when Watson comes back, how likely is it that he's the receiver cut from the 53? I think it's highly unlikely, but what we're going to do is dive into some numbers real quick and let everybody in the chat kind of tell us what they think. So, Jacob, just right off the bat, man, as far as Wicks, do you see any scenario that when Watson returns that they would just cut him outright? Or in my opinion, I think they would try to trade one of these players, if anything, probably try to get a little bit of compensation, seeing that you're going to be coming out of week 5 bye. There's a chance that Watson comes back right after that, maybe a little bit later. It's kind of lining up for him to return right around the trade deadline. So I could see where a trade would be possible as well. But what do you think, man?
I just don't think that they're ready to cut bait with Wicks yet. And personally, I hope that they wouldn't. I think the guy's got a lot of potential. And it's easy to kind of get distracted with, like you said, how many guys we got in this wide receiver room. And to be honest, I'm a fan of Mecole Hardman, man. The more I listen to him, the more I watch how he does operate he's a seasoned vet, and he's a guy that's been through some of the most critical and winning Super Bowl snap, being literally like game-winning snaps in the Super Bowl. Like you can't coach that type of experience kind of thing. But then you look at guys like you talked about, Malik Heath. I still, in my heart of hearts, just can't let him go, man. I can't let Malik Heath go. He's just, I love him too much. To me, more likely the scenario other than Dontayvion would be the Romeo Doubs. It just, for whatever reason, it just seems like that's just way more likely. Just seems to fit more with what they'd want to do with the scheme, with the contract, just that whole scenario. And like you said, whether or not Christian Watson comes back at a certain timeline, I feel like him and Doubs are kind of in that same, like, which one are we going with here? Obviously, Doubs has had some interactions with some mental stuff, and I say mental like as in concussions, right? And he's wearing the special cap and all that kind of stuff. And he's always been kind of an interesting guy, And I'm not going to claim I'm not a weird dude myself, but
we know Jacob. We know everybody on this show. Everybody that's associated to this show, man. They're
true. The
weirdos.
There's everybody. We're a bunch of freaking weirdos. But I just don't see a scenario where they are willing to give up on Wicks just yet. And maybe, by game 5, if something crazy happens along those lines, maybe I could taste that chicken. But right now, I'm a little too drunk to taste that chicken.
I got you, man. All right. Well, when you're looking at the PFF grades here now, obviously Mecole Hardman only had 115 snaps last year, but he's the highest PFF grade in terms of the receiving room going into this season based off of the 2024 grades. But he had a 72.8. Next is Jaden Reed with a 71.7. Christian Watson with a 70.0. Romeo Doubs, 69.7. Dontayvion Wicks, 65.1. Bo Melton, 63.2. Malik Heath, 62.9. And again, I know there's some people that are going to be against PFF grades. I got you. I completely understand. It's a metric that we use along with a multitude of other things. We'll look at some of the stats from NFL Pro here in a second. But Ron Sample, who asked the questions in the chat, he said, I agree. It's unlikely. Clint Cosgrove says, I don't like it, but I think they trade Doubs. And that's what we were kind of thinking too. Like, I think there's a greater chance that they let Doubs go or trade Doubs as opposed to Dontayvion Wicks. And one of the reasons being is Dontayvion Wicks has 2 more years left on his contract this year and next year. We're in the final year of Romeo Doubs' contract. So if you don't see him as being in the long-term future, the long-term plans of the Packers, that's the guy you're probably going to look to deal, I would imagine. Also in the chat here, Drew D says it would be middle of the season And if he's still having bad hands, that's a very bad sign. Completely agree, Drew. His rookie year looked pretty solid, right? Last year, the drops were an issue. Although I will say this, much like Jaden Reed, the last 5 or 6 games of the season, if I remember correctly, Dontayvion Wicks really cleaned the drops up. So we're kind of remembering that first half, maybe first 3 quarters of the season. But I'm with you, man. If he comes out and he's got bad hands again, not looking good. Let's see here. We got 11 Rydell. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Hardman over Heath. It's funny. If I had to choose today, Hardman or Heath, I'm going with Hardman probably because you've got that guy.
That's crazy. I think I would too, and that's crazy because I love Heath. Like I actually, it'd be tough for me to pick another guy over Malik Heath because I feel like he's put in that work. He's a blocker. He's a dog. I really believe he's a true boundary receiver. But there's something about McCole Hardman that just says that this guy's a professional and he's not messing around. I watched an interview with him as well, where it's just like he understands Green Bay. He's accepted the culture. He knows the what it means to be a Green Bay Packer. And I don't think he's just a special team / gadget guy. I think he's actually a type of receiver that could actually help us in the offensive game, taking the top off the defense and et cetera.
Yeah, I think it's very well said. And since we're talking Heath here, let's just look at the next gen stats here. This is NFL Pro next gen stats. Obviously, just basic stats here. Jaden Reed led the way at 857 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. Christian Watson was 620 and 2 touchdowns. The thing I always want to point out with Christian Watson's numbers, guys, 21.4 yards per reception is insane. That's wild. Next, you got Romeo Doubs, 601 yards with 4 touchdowns. And then you've got Dontayvion Wicks, 415 with 5 touchdowns. Then Malik Heath, only 97 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. I believe this is through this is just a regular season. So this doesn't include the one playoff game, but just keep that in mind. Bo Melton finished with 91 yards. Now, the thing that sticks out when you look at Malik Heath, let's go catch percentage now, right? When it goes catch rate, he led the team in catch rate. Now, granted, it was only 10 catches, right? But he had a 76.9% catch percentage. Look at Dontayvion Wicks Center, 51.3, right? And Jaden Reed was at a 73.3. People, were acting like Jaden Reed had this horrible drop problem. I'm telling you, man, you got to be careful where you get your information from because with these drops here, we can click on this convenient little tab, look at every single target and every single catch, and you can determine on those targets in between those catches whether it was a drop or not. Also, the thing that sticks out here when it comes to Malik Heath, another statistic is notice the catch rate over expected. He led the team at 9.7%, right? So when we're talking about keeping Mecole Hardman over Malik Heath, it's not like this huge slam dunk to me. I mean, obviously Hardman is faster. Hardman is more versatile. He can play that F. He could take jet sweeps, things like that, where Malik Heath doesn't have that burst. But we can't discount the fact that Malik Heath was so good with catch percentage and his catch rate over expected. His receiving EPA a little bit lower here at 7.4. So, but you see Dontayvion Wicks down here, man, receiving EPA minus 12.9. So when you look at everything, you take everything into consideration, Jake. It kind of feels like Dontayvion Wicks is the weakest link of those 3 receivers. But again, man,
but he's drafted.
Yeah, he's got two more years on that contract. So
yeah,
it makes you think they'll probably hold on to him.
That's kind of my biggest thing here is when you look at a lot of the metrics, like you said, it's unfortunate that Dontayvion is kind of towards the bottom of them. But I would argue too that, like you said, Malik Heath, man, you watch some of the stuff, even with his highlights at Ole Miss, he was a possession type receiver where he would pick the ball out of the air. He'd make something out of nothing. I can't remember the game, and I wish I could. I wish I was more like Tim, where he can kind of just remember dates and times and games and all that. But he caught a ball, I believe, like on the 5, made a dude miss, like threw him off, and didn't make a miss, like didn't juke him, like threw a guy off him, and like dove towards the end zone and made a catch. And I just remember watching that, and we've all seen obviously when he does the block the guy into the freaking cooler highlight too, right? So Malik Heath just is kind of like, he's an old school wide receiver that I think has a lot more twitch and a lot more finesse to him that people give him credit for. And don't get me wrong, I want Dontayvion to be that type of guy because he is different. Like the route running. Remember when he first came out, we're like, dang, we haven't seen route running like that. Like he's crisp. He is Davante Adams level crisp. That's what they were comparing him to. And that's a big comparison, right? For him to live up to. So maybe he got a little bit, I don't want to say awestruck or whatever, but that first year looked very tight. Like you said, he took a step back in year 2. A lot of the guys didn't have a great year lately. So I think that if he has that dog in him, he's gonna refine his game. He's gonna come back ready, and knowing that this is the type of competition he's gonna have in the wide receiver room, I think we're gonna get the best Dontayvion Wicks. And if not, then we'd have a conversation about maybe dispersing him at a certain time. Right.
Ed Madden in the chat says, I think Wicks will be better holding on to the ball. He gets open. I like Hardman, but I can see Heath making the 53 because of his blocking. That's another great issue, man. We don't call him water cooler for nothing. If you guys don't remember that preseason game where he literally blocked a cornerback from the boundary, over the white line, past the bench, and right into the water cooler. It was unbelievable. I mean, the dude.
The water boy, the cooler.
He's a grown-ass man out there playing receiver. There's no doubt about it, man. Coach Lynn says they would not cut Wicks. Too much talent and a great blocker. That's another thing, too. He'll get in there and dig them safeties out when they got him in the F. He ain't scared of it. And in terms of the talent, Jacob, there's not many people in the league that has a route running ability that Wicks has. I mean, that's been talked about by a multitude of former players. The problem is you got to catch the damn ball.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like his route running was compared to Davante Adams when he came in, saying like the dude's he's crispy, you know what I mean? And one thing you were talking about, like you just said, the blocking ability. I randomly was looking through my Facebook reels, just kind of doom scrolling, and it came to that the Tucker Kraft touchdown where he gets it thrown to him. I think it was like kind of like a swing pass off the left hand side. He rolls up the sideline and he's got 2 guys to beat. He's stiff arm. It's against the Rams, I believe. He stiff arms the one guy, and he's got another guy to beat. Dontayvion Wicks absolutely seals off this guy. Just completely seals him off to the point where Tucker just has to do a little side swipe, getting past him. And like you said, that's something you can't really teach wide receivers. They either got it or they don't. Like they're willing to go out there and put their neck on the line to help their fellow teammates. So to me, it's way too early, in my opinion, to give up on Dontayvion. I just think Dontayvion, isn't that correct?
Dontayvion Wicks.
Yes. I just think that it's way too early. Give the guy another year or 2 at least, and with such a quiet wide receiver room, I think that we're going to see a few freaking gems just arise out of nowhere.
It's always worth mentioning too, and we talk about this all the time, as we're leading up to training camp, and even throughout the duration of training camp, we're talking about, man, who's going to make the 53? Who's going to be here? Who's going to be there? And typically there's injuries that decide that for us. Somebody will go on the pup, somebody will go on the IR for 4 weeks, and that'll kind of trigger the initial 53-man roster. Greg Rice in the chat said, didn't Wicks lead the team in targets? Yes, he did. He had 76 targets. Jaden Reed had 75. Romeo Doubs, 72. And this kind of goes back to the Romeo Doubs thing. They wanted Dontayvion Wicks to be able to take that boundary X position away from Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs is our best boundary X. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Now, when they started trying to force Dontayvion Wicks into that, the reason they did is because they're looking at that contract. That's what I think. And that's what ticked Romeo Doubs off. And I'm not justifying Romeo Doubs getting upset about that. It obviously led to a suspension. He's seen the writing on the wall, I think, that, hey, I'm getting ready to go into the last year of my contract. This dude's younger than me. He's a better route runner than me. He don't have the hand. He don't have near as good a hands as Romeo Doubs. Don't get me wrong. But I think he was going in kind of like, hey, I've got to do something to try to secure this because they're literally taking reps away from me and giving them to him. It didn't work out for Dontayvion Wicks, that's for sure. And then, of course, Romeo Doubs with the 2 concussions as well. That doesn't bode very well. So for me, I think Doubs of the 3 would be the most likely to be tradable. Malik Heath, nobody's going to offer a draft pick for him. Dontayvion Wicks, I think they want to see if he can put it all together like he did his rookie year, kind of get a jump, on that and come back to that rookie form, especially with that route running ability. So to me, it just seems like there's more things in the box for Romeo Doubs to get traded than anyone else. So let's just go back to the chat. 11, Ryle Deal. He used to have a normal, I can't think of his name. He used to have a normal, easy to read name there. Everybody always changes their names up on me. 100% would be a trade. No way Doubs or Wicks are cut. Completely agree with that, man. Completely agree with it. King Cheddar says, I think Dobbs will get traded to the NFC West. I could see that, man. The Rams, same system. The 49ers, same system, essentially, same terminology.
Do you think there's any credence to that he'll go to Pittsburgh and just have that? Because, like, people are saying, oh, he's with Aaron, but I feel like Aaron wasn't quite fond of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're acting like they're Rodgers and Devontae. It's not that way.
Yeah, it's definitely not on that level of a Devontae, obviously. But also, I think it was blown way out of proportion when what Romeo Doubs said that made everybody all of a sudden assume and believe that Aaron Rodgers and him didn't get along was he said, I appreciate everything that Aaron Rodgers did for me, but outside of football, we never really talked that much.
No.
Jordan's my guy because him and Jordan spent a lot of time together leading up even before he got into the league. They were working out
off
together.
Seasons and shit. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so yeah, I think that was kind of blown out of proportion, but I understand what you're saying too, Jacob. I don't see how Romeo Doubs is this huge, like Aaron's out there pounding the table going, we got to get this kid. We got to get this kid. So I just don't see it happening. Let's see here. Chuck in the chat says Doubs only had 4 touchdowns, ? That is correct, according to NFL Pro, sir. So, yeah, kind of surprising. The year before, I want to say he had almost 10. Like, he had like 8 or 9 or something crazy, right? Drew D in the chat says a bunch of Reed's drops were from Love throwing ducks while injured. Yeah, there were some bad throws in there. We kind of talked about that. It's amazing how a receiver sits down in his zone, the ball's off the mark, he lays out full extension to dive for the ball. It hits his hands, and PFF's writing articles about how he dropped the ball. That blows my mind. Lorenzo in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Says, Golden a number 1 wide receiver or just a deep threat? Don't know much about him. In my opinion, Lorenzo, nobody's a number 1 until they prove it. To me, what you're going to get with Golden is you're going to get really good hands. He attacks the football. He's got strong hands. He's got really, really good body control. He's very smooth in his route running. As Aaron Rodgers said, he was very polished, I think was the word he used coming out of mini camp there. So we'll see, man. We'll keep our eye on this whole receiver thing and see if one of these 3 players may be traded. If it's Romeo Doubs, if it's Dontayvion Wicks. It's all going to come down to how people perform in camp and then obviously injuries. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just going to say, I have a weird suspicion that for whatever reason that Savion Williams is just going to be a bigger component to this offense that people are thinking he is. And I think I can't remember if I watched a press conference with, I can't remember if it was the OC or something that I just, like they name dropped him to a point, like in a certain situation, in a certain sentence where I was like, that's not just a coach speak type thing. Like he's like, right. We want to get him involved in as many things. Like he can take it out the backfield. He can go through, obviously on the boundary. He can work in the slot. He can do. And I'm just thinking like, man, maybe they are that confident their wide receiver room is so deep that there could be a potential trade for one of these guys. Like you said, we need to see it from Golden. We need to see it from Savion. We have to understand that these guys are actually worth the draft positions that we put in them. And it isn't that weird though. I mean, like, I can't remember the last time we had a 1st and 3rd round receiver that were like, all right, show us what you got, boys. Like that's crazy.
And the thing about Savion is he was not utilized as a true wide receiver at TCU. He's a gadget guy, right? He was a gadget guy. They'd put him at Wildcat quarterback. They'd run him out of the backfield. When he did get those reps, his contested catch rate was unbelievable. Like he was so good at going up and getting those 50-50 balls. But on the flip side, he had a ton of wide open drops too. So you really don't know what you're getting with Savion yet, but I do think he will surprise people at how polished he is as a receiver just because people see the college tape and think, well, they didn't use him there because he couldn't do it. I think he can. I really do. Coach Lynn says can create separation also in a hurry. I mean, there were some routes, wasn't there, Coach, where he was breaking people's ankles in college.
You look at his separation percentage and his high point capability and his contested catch rate, it's like 89% or something like that. Like the dude, like you said, he's a gadget guy kind of thing. But he's not just a gadget guy. Like when they put him on the X, when they made him do, geez, come on. when they put him out there, like he legit goes up, man. He makes those plays. Like he is not just I think he's a blessing that he had that for TCU because he could. Dude, they throw him at quarterback. They throw him in the Wildcat. They throw him at tight end. They put him everywhere.
X, he was in the slot. They throw him over at Z. He was all over the place, all over the joint. Ed Madden says, I'm trying to temper my expectations for Savion. He could be a nightmare for defenses. I agree, man. That's the right way to approach it. And then if he's a hit, right? So that's going to do it for that little segment there. Jacob, we'll go ahead and wrap up the wide